to 45 seconds.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ty Adams. Welcome to TRA Marketplace 2020. Thank you for joining us today for our session of the future of catering and events. Please feel free to engage throughout by asking questions and placing them in the Q&A window below. Without further delay, I am excited to introduce our Big Ben stage sponsor, Texas Mutual.
In response to the pandemic, Texas Mutual will distribute $330 million in dividends to eligible policyholders 2 months ahead of schedule. We're also sending $2 million to nonprofits on the front lines of the COVID-19 effort. Better days are coming, but in the meantime, we'll be on the job helping Texas businesses. To learn how dividends are supporting employers in this time of need, go to texasmutual.com/dividends.
Thank you, Texas Mutual. Awesome state sponsors. To kick this session off, I'd like to introduce our moderator, none other, the one and only, Dallas's own, Miss Heather Pickett. All right, ladies. Heather.
Thank you so much, Ty. I love that introduction. All right. We are here today to talk about the future of catering and events. And we have two amazing panelists joining us, Allison Kiekefer from the Event Lounge and Sonia Villarreal from the RK Group. Ladies, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourselves before we jump right into this little bit scary topic. Allison?
Sure, thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As Heather mentioned, my name is Allison Kiekefer. I am the owner and chief event officer at the Event Lounge, and also, since COVID has happened, the owner of the software platform VirtueMeet. So thank you for having me today, Heather. I've been in the event industry for over 25 years, and this is definitely an unprecedented time, so I look forward to fielding some questions and sharing some insights.
Thanks, Allison. Sonia, can you share a little bit about yourself with us as well?
Absolutely. Good afternoon. I'm Sonia Villarreal. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this. My background began in hotels and restaurants in Dallas, and I have been in San Antonio for the last 15 years, working in hotels, and the last 8 years with Rosemary's Catering, part of the RK Group. I am their director of sales for off-premise catering. So this topic and right now what we're doing is so important for us to talk about. I'm eager to share and I'm eager to learn what everybody else is doing. So thank you.
Thank you both for joining us. I'm eager to learn as well. I've been in the catering and event business for about 5 years now. So I've got lots of questions for you, and I hope all of our attendees will send in questions so that we can all field and get some information. I kind of wanted to start with something since the beginning of this, so about March for us, we've heard the word pivot a lot. I'm kind of tired of that word, but another word that I keep hearing from event clients is paralysis. My social and my corporate clients are scared. They don't know what to do next. And I know both of you have taken some really creative turns in pulling your clients out of that and your employees, and kind of wanted to talk about how you're turning the tide, to say, for your clients now that live events aren't really taking place.
For us in catering, for off-premise catering, it's really about listening to the client, reaching out to them. They are so lost right now, not just paralyzed. They don't know what direction to go in, especially the nonprofit world and the social world. So I have been reaching out to all of our regular clients that had to reschedule, and just kind of ask them, what are you doing? How can I help you? It could be as simple as just letting them know that we're completely flexible with what their needs are. That might be home deliveries, or helping them find a venue to do a meeting for 10 or 20 or 50 that's perfectly spaced for them. It's really about us reaching out and letting them know that we can still help them. And I have even told some of my clients, maybe we can't cater for you, but let me help you find a place that can, because I do believe that they will. And then a year from now, when they are ready to book again, they'll reach out to us.
Heather, I would say this. I mean, there's no question about the fact that this is scary. This is a scary time, right? But I do feel like all of us as an entity, as an industry, we have to do something, because sitting still right now only makes us more of a target for destruction. Like, there's no way to survive this if you don't take some chances and you don't do some things. And for the event lounge, what that has looked like is really reaching out and crafting some very unusual collaborations with people that maybe we have never thought about collaborating with before, you know, and looking at everyone in the industry as an ally instead of competition right now, because I think if any of us can make it through this, then all of us can hopefully make it through this in one way, shape, or form. And obviously for us, we did a complete reinvention, because I focus on large corporate shows and large corporate conferences, and those just were not happening. And so I ventured into the territory of, you know, what I would consider to be a real scary area. And I started exploring technology that could support these virtual events, and found that the most economical and custom solution that we could provide for our clients was to just write a software platform from scratch. So you want to talk about wading into waters where it's murky in there. I am a live event creative. I am not a technical person, but I just knew that if I followed my gut and I took some chances. I also think, and I was talking to one of my team members about this earlier today, none of us have a crystal ball right now. So I think you focus on what's at hand, and you don't worry about what's going to happen 3 months or 6 months from now. You know, obviously you keep your eye on that, but you really focus on what immediate actions you can be taking to move forward, even if it's just a couple inches. I think that's really helpful too. It's a mindset thing, I think.
Y'all got very creative in creating this software program. Can you expand on that a little bit? Tell us what is that looking like for you? I know it's relatively new, since this pandemic is still new to all of us, but how is that kind of working itself out for you, and what are you encountering?
Well, I'll tell you that, you know, it all started in March, April, when we literally lost every single corporate event that we had left on the books for the remainder of 2020. And we kept hearing people say, we want to do a virtual meeting. And I thought, well, we can do virtual stuff. We can take your videos and stream them out. But I quickly learned and was educated that that was only the tip of the iceberg. People wanted these two-dimensional trade shows. They wanted these opportunities for endless amounts of branding. They wanted to be able to amortize and sell sponsorships, you know, and so we started looking for a platform and found that the ones that were on the market were so terribly oversaturated, or honestly just so expensive, that there was no way we were going to be able to make that happen. So I took a real leap of faith and asked my programmers who have worked on my website and my fulfillment portal if they would be able to write a program from scratch. And they said, well, it's going to take about 12 weeks if we start tomorrow. And so I just had to take a really big breath, write a really scary check, because at that point it was, you know, either do it or don't do it. And then we kind of embarked into this new arena for us. But honestly, it's paid off. And I think that all of the events moving forward will have some technology component. And I think even the catering folks need to understand, the restaurant folks, everyone needs to understand how technology is going to play into things moving forward. I was scared to death of it, but I'll tell you that I'm no longer, you know, there's no longer sleepless nights, because I just kind of embraced it and swung my leg over that Bronco. And I've tried to you know, ride the rodeo, because honestly, what choice you got? What choice you got?
Right.
Exactly. Sonia, what are some ways that y'all had to get creative as far as helping get your clients kind of over this hump? And
So for the clients that are doing the virtual meetings in the fall that are scheduled right now, we're doing boxed meals at home, heat and serve. Maybe you're able to have 8 to 10 people gather in your home. versus a sponsorship table or a high donor level table. I have a lot of nonprofit clients. Maybe you're taking that into your home and we're doing a heat and eat that can be either delivered to you or picked up. I have several luncheons that are happening that typically would have been at a museum or a venue. Now we can set up that luncheon where it's one take home meal per person, and they can do a drive-through, and perhaps they pick it up at the organization. Maybe it's a school, maybe it's, they come through and do a pickup in the driveway. And that does give the organization an opportunity to touch their donor. So there's still, it's all about bringing the client, the organization into it, involving them in the planning of it and kind of brainstorming with them what their vision is for the event. So those are the menus that we're writing right now, things that can be taken home.
I think also, Heather, that, you know, the thing is that it's kind of monotonous right now. Life is kind of a routine. And so any chance that we have as event producers or caterers, like, you know, like Sonia was saying for her clients, it's kind of a family outing to get in the car, drive over to this nonprofit organization, see all these stakeholders waving at you. Maybe they've decorated the pickup booths and they've kind of created an experience for people. I mean, that's honestly what people are looking for right now, is they want something to break up the monotony. And it doesn't have to be a wildly expensive idea. It just needs to be something that shows a little bit of creativity, you know, a desire to interact with them in some way, a way to be a touch point with them. I mean, I think, again, it doesn't have to be astronomically expensive. It's just kind of breaking up the doldrum with something that's a little unique and unusual. And honestly, not all of the ideas are going to be, you know, a hit the first round. Sometimes they take a little perfecting, but, you know, just doing things that are a little unique, people love that.
And just being able to have that exact conversation with the client. And I find myself telling them, hey, this is a first time thing for us. Let's plan this together. I've got the menu ideas. We've got the culinary team. It's all about planning it together and helping them bring their vision and knowing that, hey, we're open to trying anything. And I think the client really likes to hear that. They like to hear that, oh, okay, it doesn't have to be a set way or a certain way. We're open.
That's something that I'm seeing, is that our clients are like, okay, here's my thoughts, help me do this. And so it's becoming we work closely with our clients already in this world, but it's becoming an even more symbiotic relationship in that we're learning together. We're going to do this together. Here we go. You already trust me to do these things. And so are you seeing that in some of your clients, like, okay, and are some of them giving you some really great ideas that you're able to take and kind of reconfigure and make them work?
We have the clients that really need to have their hand held through this and don't understand it at all. And then I have clients who already have all their packaging picked out. She's got all her boxes and her bags, and she's going to bring all of that collateral to the tasting so that we just fit in the food into what she's already planned out, ordered out, spec'd out, and it's going to, cost-wise, it's going to help her. Because then I'm not going to have to charge for some of that. She's already put all that together. So, you know, play to their strengths. You know, our strength would definitely be the food. And then this organization is extremely creative and she's already branded things out.
I would say, Heather, that most of my clients, just candidly, they're sort of saying, especially on the technology side, tell me what to do next.
Yeah, because that can be scary. So how are you kind of helping them?
Well, I've had to, you know, for us, it's been establishing really clear processes, really clear timelines for people, being super transparent in our conversation, being more available. And I know that the folks out there that are in the event industry are saying more available than you were before COVID, because how is that even possible? But, you know, I'm more available now than I ever was before, because I want somebody who might be having a panic moment to know that they're not in this alone. And I will either tell them what they need to do next or support them in whatever move they think needs to be next. It really is, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a collaboration, and it is uncharted territories. So I think you have to be very strategic. I think that communication plans have to be stronger than they ever have been. Deadlines have to be firmer than they ever have been for many reasons, because as we all know, it's hard to find labor right now. Expenses are up in the supplies that we're purchasing, and those things do not they do not lend themselves to success in budgeting and quality product in the 13th hour. So I think as much as we can try to get ahead of it, the better off we're going to be.
I like that. We do have a question that just came in, and this is something that I did want us to kind of talk about. As we're working through all this, are you focusing on existing clients and trying to show them how they can come out of this and still have events? Are you soliciting new clients? Where are you kind of coming out on and working with an existing client base, creating a new client, and still advertising right now?
I'm going on our end. We are definitely doing the existing client base, making all warm calls, connecting with them and just letting them know we're available to them however they may need us. And just kind of building that up, sending them emails, doing email blasts to our existing clients. I can't say that we're advertising right now. I think in all honesty, we've probably pulled all those dollars.
I understand.
But definitely just working with who's existing. And we're lucky as the Arcade Group and Rosemary's Catering to still get a lot of inbound calls for the social market. And so just jumping on those because brides haven't stopped planning.
Yeah, we're still getting married.
So definitely jumping on those and being alert and responsive to the clients who are calling.
Allison, what are y'all doing?
Well, we have never been big on true traditional advertising and marketing. We tend to be bigger fans of word of mouth referrals. We tend to try and become subject matter experts. We've put together a series of webinars about transitioning live events to virtual events. We have, we've created some resources for people. We have a smart, clean team now that talks about what you're going to need to do when events do go live. And so we're really trying to, and we're leveraging a lot of social media contacts because that tends to be more affordable. And honestly, I've been keeping track of where our new leads have come from. And we have picked up about 92% of the clients that we are servicing on virtual events between now and the end of the first quarter in 2021 are brand new clients to us since COVID hit. So that to me is really amazing. And it's honestly been through my membership in trade organizations, through Meeting Professionals International, through a group called SPIN, which is senior planners, and just being available. Not, you know, when somebody says, who has the greatest virtual meeting platform? I don't jump on that. I say, hey, if you'd like to chat about different options because we might not be the right solution, I just try to be a resource. So we certainly are not doing hardcore advertising, but like Sonia said, reaching out to clients that have been in our Rolodex from the past, checking on them, sympathizing when an event does have to cancel, sending a care package the week that an event that was supposed to be live was going to take place, and just kind of mourn that with them, because it is a sad thing when you've put a lot of energy into something that can't move forward in a live capacity. But yeah, honestly, we have not spent any money on the marketing portion.
Sorry, our lights are on a motion detector in here, and I was sitting still for too long. I didn't leave y'all alone.
Talk with your hands, Heather. Talk with your hands.
I'll dance a little bit for you. We had another question come in that Sonia, I see that you wanted to address, talking about safety.
So in April, May, when we were starting to roll out procedures, we really looked to the hotels as an off-premise caterer. We went to the hotels, for example, the Wynn in Las Vegas. We kind of went to the big hotel groups to see what they were doing in order to start putting some procedures and policies into place. So that was our first effort. And then secondly, one of the things we're doing is we call our local health department weekly. We call them and it's called Metro Health in San Antonio, and we're always calling them about sizes of events. Can we do this? Can we have a bar at an event? Can it be more than 10 people? If it can be more than 10 people, where can that happen? In San Antonio or in Bexar County, until September 16th, we're still at a maximum of 10 people. So
Oh.
For a catering company like my own,
Mhm.
like Rosemary's Catering, we really can't even work because our minimums are higher than that. So, but we do just have like, we call 311 and start asking questions.
How have you kind of speaking, so we're talking about safety, how are you addressing it at the event on some of the ones you have had?
So we did put a procedure into place, and it's all making sure the staff is in PPE, making sure they're gloved, making sure we have sanitation stations, masked, obviously. And then for food, we have guards on bars, we have guards over the food. We might have domes on a salad or on a plated event. We'll have domes until we serve it to the table. June was really the only month we were able to have some events. And then I think after September 16th, we're on track to start them up again.
Okay, we put up a couple of pictures of some events that y'all have done since this started. Kind of get our idea of creative and nice ways that you can still host your events.
Right.
But
so like those are
hors
d'oeuvres that are, typically you could have been past hors d'oeuvres or an hors d'oeuvre station, that they're individually prepared, and then there will be someone behind that guard, gloved and masked, handing it to the guest.
Wonderful. Allison, how are y'all addressing this as your events? Because I know you're kind of doing a hybrid, right? Virtual, and you've still done some live events.
I will be very honest with you and tell you that we have not had many live events because I'm in the corporate arena, not the social, like Sonia is. But my corporate clients, pretty much, they were like, hey, if we're going to do it, it's going to be virtual. They don't want to bite off the liability. But you can see that the few small things we have done, lots of social distancing. We, as a company, invented or kind of coined the term SMART Clean Team, which stands for the 5 areas that we're targeting, which are sanitation, medical, you would think accessories, so like signage, sneeze guards, hand sanitizers, all that kind of fun stuff. R is the readiness, not just for ourselves, but for the guests, so they understand what is expected of them, and for the staff, so they understand and for the venue, for that matter, because it really is a 3-pronged approach to make sure that as we move forward, things are safe. And then T is just basically tracking everything, because that's going to be just making sure that everybody is kind of on the same page. I think the reality is that perception is reality right now. And so you just have to be really big and showy about everything that you're doing. And then it has to be very authentic. What you're doing does have to be authentic. It can't just be lip service. And I know it gets expensive. It definitely gets expensive. So I'm trying to have those conversations early on with my clients to say, hey, I want to make sure that you understand that, yes, the venue has some responsibility. And yes, as your partner, we do as a vendor, but you also as the host have some responsibility as well. And that does come with a higher price tag, unfortunately. And you can't cut corners on that.
Correct. Are you getting pushback on that? Both of you, like when you're talking to the client saying, okay, we've got to add these new line items to protect your guest, make sure everybody feels comfortable. How is that conversation going?
This conversation comes up a lot. We are lucky to not have really gotten much pushback. And I think the reasons are, it's about how you present it and just let them know how important this is. I have to have these servers or this additional staff to do this or serve the food. It's so important for your safety. We don't want to risk that. And then what I'm finding is that because of the smaller number of attendees, or there are certain things that they're not spending money on, there does end up being some wiggle room in the budget to move from something that they weren't purchasing. Maybe they're doing less centerpieces because there's less tables, and we can take those dollars and put them towards labor. So we definitely need to talk about it and try to make them comfortable with it, but I haven't had pushback.
I've had a little bit of pushback, and I'm just going to say that I just remind my clients that doing the right thing up front is a lot more affordable than having to defend yourself against a lawsuit down the line. and bad press and PR, which you're bound to get if your event
Yes.
becomes the hotbed for coronavirus activity, is going to cost you in the long run a whole heck of a lot more than just being prepared and doing the right thing up front. So that usually takes the sting, or it kind of forces people to do the right thing. But I also am a big proponent of asking the question, if you're this nervous about spending the money to take the precautions, is this an event you really need to be having?
Exactly. And that's a conversation I think we all need to have is with our clients is, maybe now's not the time. As much as we want to get back into the live event arena, maybe now is not the time. So what other things are y'all what else are you kind of looking at right now and doing if the client comes back and goes, you're right, now is not the right time? Are you postponing, rescheduling, and are you attaching fees to that?
Well, we have postponed without penalty for every one of our clients, simply because, whether they do it now or they do it down the road, I'm going to use the same vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously those first couple of weeks when I had a cooler full of flowers that were going to an event, we had to have some tough conversations. We made some donations on people's behalf. And I said, will you just cover costs, especially at the onset when we didn't think this was going to potentially be as long reaching as it has become. But the thing that I will say is that I think this is where you really have to start getting creative and figure out how you can take the experience to people. And so that's why I think doorstep deliveries are really important. Like Sonia was saying, meals delivered to people's homes, meals picked up places. Are there experiences that can be created using catering? Can you deliver a fun craft cocktail kit to someone's home on behalf of an event that was going to happen, and they are sold as a charity type element, and then people do those on screen with a fun celebrity bartender? Or can you do a fun unprepared meal in a box that then you're cooking in the kitchen while watching a really great chef that has got music streaming in the background, and there's a DJ taking requests, and there's a chef cooking at a venue like yours, Heather. I mean, honestly, and I think now's the time where live events for us, at least on the corporate side, have not come back as quickly as Sonia is experiencing. And September 13th, although that might be the magic date for her, I will tell you that we are my first live event RFP, because everything canceled through the first quarter, is actually for May of 2021.
That's your first live event. Wow. And like you said, we're filming an event tomorrow, and that Sonia kind of touched on. The way we're getting through it with our client is the event will be ticketed and not live streamed. It'll be streamed in October, and we're sending a chef, like they're tiering it out for sponsorship levels, like you said, making it an experience. So we'll send our chef there. They'll cook for 10 people in the home, wearing their full PPE and things like that. So yes, everyone's trying to find those new ways to give them the experience. Sonia, are you kind of seeing the same thing?
Yes, and back to the original question, we rescheduled without penalty to everybody. So as long as that they were rescheduling, and we're at the point where we've rescheduled twice. We're on some clients are on their third date, so it's just a matter of, we have so many long-term clients, and our avenue is definitely social. So it's important to keep those, keep everyone happy. But yes, just thinking, being creative and helping them go outside the box. I really tried to help a client back in May who typically does a 900-person event. And in May, I kept saying, let's be thinking about something else. And they didn't want to. They're like, no, this event's going to happen in the fall.
Okay.
And it's just, you're trying to tell them it can't happen like this, but unfortunately now it's not happening at all. So I think that we just have to stay on the clients, that we just need them to trust that we're the experts to help them and really kind of guide them.
One trend that I'm seeing a lot of is where these bigger events, whether they are traditionally just in one city, where all the attendees are coming from one city or they're coming across the country, is they're breaking those down and doing regional events or traveling type road shows.
Okay.
I have one client in October that was going to do one large in-person conference that was a day long here in Dallas. And now they've broken that out and they're doing that in 8 cities following social distancing guidelines and capacity guidelines in each respective city. And they're having a smaller event that is determined. This is a charity, so they're determining you get to come in person based on your donation level, or you get first right of refusal to come in person. So I'm seeing that the bigger events are now becoming more regional or smaller events. To answer the question that Robert asked about, I believe it was Robert that asked about, you know, large gatherings happening. I'm just not seeing those happen. And I was hopeful that maybe things would come back around for company Christmas parties and that sort of thing. But now people are saying, how do I put a party in a box and ship that to someone's home? That's what I want to do. So it's gingerbread house kits, and it is, you know, craft cocktail kits, and it's candy cane kebab making kits, and things that are going to bring the fun and festive to people's doorsteps so that they don't come into a gathering where, you know, everyone gets potentially exposed to something.
And you're right on the topic of seeing the smaller holiday parties. We had a holiday party we've had for years. It's usually about 300 people. It's now 75 planned here. And can you recommend a caterer to us, is their question to me, for our Houston office, because they're going to stay there and they're going to do their own events. So we are seeing the larger gatherings become smaller gatherings regionally.
Yes, and just like Allison said at the very beginning, corporate is just not. They're not bringing, you know, whether it's financially based or liability based, they're not bringing their people together. So large gatherings are not happening, holiday parties are not happening, and it's, you know, it's the same story. Just helping them think of something else, or let's plan something mid-year. Maybe we need to do Christmas in July next year. Just really be thinking of helping them do something different. Maybe it doesn't have to be a holiday party. It could be something in the spring. Or I love the idea of the different offices having different, let's take something to an office, or let's take something to a place where even if they're at 50% capacity, we can do that event.
I'd also love to see a caterer get in a food truck and go to everyone's neighborhood. I think that would be so much fun. If I had, you know, if I had 25 or 50 employees and I spread that over a week and I said, hey, this food truck's coming to your house to bring our holiday party to your doorstep. You know, I'm sure logistically there's a lot that would go into that. It doesn't even need to be the same food truck, but how fun would that be if all of a sudden a food truck showed up, or an ice cream truck showed up in front of your house, and you were, you know, handed some sort of specialty, you know, item from the menu and some sort of cool branded container. And it just really says, hey, we went above and beyond to create something special for you. And, you know, it doesn't have to be a gourmet meal.
Right. And I think the restaurants have a great opportunity right there, because maybe some of the restaurants aren't doing the holiday parties that they typically do. And those restaurants that have food trucks, that's a great idea.
I like that.
If you are a restaurateur, I mean, I say now's the time to be calling the people that have traditionally been in your dining room and say, hey, I know that you've traditionally been here with 40 or 50 people. What can I do to recreate 40 or 50 boxed meals that we either deliver or people pick up? You know, same thing, you know, like Sonia was saying, from a catering standpoint. And they may say, hey, listen, I can't afford that. But, you know, if somebody said to me, hey, swing by Three Forks and pick up you know, a lovely dessert to share with your family, I'd be all over that. It doesn't need to be the most lavish of things. It's just something that's unusual and breaks up the monotony a little.
I like that. We're going to get some other things that we kind of wanted to touch on. And Sonia, this is probably more to you. I'm going to go back and show the pictures again. We've had some questions for this. So while we're going back to looking at the images of how you've done some in-person events, and you as well, Allison, Sonia, can you kind of talk about some foods that you think are going to be the easiest ones for to serve at events as we move forward? And then Allison, any thoughts you might have as well on that?
One of the things that we're finding is people want hors d'oeuvres still. They want to have finger foods. And then what we've been doing is just individually plating those, as opposed to passing them around. That way the server and the client aren't so close to each other, but we will take a plate of an assortment of hors d'oeuvres, have that already plated, at a food station, so you have an opportunity to still make it look interesting and fun, and you have servers behind handing those out. That is something that's come up often for us. If this is a small dinner, we have done some small dinners where we're only seating 6 people at a table. The tables are very spaced out, and we will bring a plated meal to the guest and leave the lid on it until it is served in front of the guest. So we're not walking through a room with exposed plates. Those are probably the 2 items that we're doing the most of.
Sonia, I love the idea you shared when we were all collaborating and getting ready for this panel, where you had this big, showy, beautiful charcuterie display set up, and then over to the side behind the plexiglass, you had individual little cutting boards or individual plates with charcuterie on them. So when people came up and they were drooling over that charcuterie, just looking at that beautiful display, they just stepped to the side, got a pre-plated arrangement that
a little mini version of it.
We
So
all
nobody
have
had
the individual ones.
I also love the creativity that that this inspires for containers. So I've seen, as you were mentioning, Sonia, there's these little round plastic balls. They almost look like nylon eggs. For those of you that remember those, I'm probably dating myself, but
Yes,
and there's a appetizer inside of them, and then they're then enclosed with the lid. That's one of the only ways that I can see you could do tray past of anything. I love Chinese to-go boxes where the lids are closed and there's maybe one on the tray that's open showing what's inside. I love fun, funky brown paper boxes that have branding and fun stickers on the outside of them. I mean, I really think it's going to be bento. Yes, exactly.
Bento boxes, you know, they can have a meal in them, or they could have an assortment of hors d'oeuvres and pickup foods that you would typically be passing. They're already in a little bento box, and you can pass those out. Absolutely.
I love it. I don't know if y'all have seen the push-up sleeve that's plastic and it has the little like push-up, almost like we used to eat when we were kids, and then you're pushing some sort of like shrimp and grits into your mouth, but it's been completely concealed. It's got a little cover over it. I mean, that's what it's going to be all about, is like creative ways to avoid contamination. Like Sonia was saying, you're not just traipsing all over the room with this giant, you know, essentially platter that's going to be gathering all the germs that are in the air.
Right.
Correct. Yes. Again, we're all having to get real creative with how we're serving items, how we're taking care of our clients, how we're alleviating their concerns. So to that end, and we are the creatives a lot of times behind these events, what are some of the things that you're, like if you've said, okay, this is as creative I can get, I'm done. How are some of the ways, or what are some of the ways that your colleagues and that your employees are going, hey, I've got this new great idea, like real creative things that you've seen? I know, Allison, you created a software program, but when you're at the event, what are some things or best practices you've seen of, hey, that's a really great idea to share with all of our attendees today?
I did see one wedding, which it was in the Houston area, and they created confined, almost like tents or gazebos for every household to be inside of, and they had clear walls on the outside of them. It was stunning. It was so stunning. And I love that idea. I mean, I just saw something yesterday in London, I believe, or England, where they're building platforms for the concerts, and you have to stay inside of your confined platform. And I think the reality is, as we know, these things do not come without a cost. So this level of creativity is going to be expensive. But I think that if there's a way that you can invest in these things and you're smart about the investment and they can be cross-utilized, and this is where you don't necessarily need to make the investment. I mean, I'll say that there's got to be a tent company in town that would love the opportunity to set up some 10 by 10 tents and put some clear sides and really schnazz those out inside of some sort of bigger ballroom. You know, I think this is when you really have to know that you can't do it all yourself, and collaboration is what's going to make these things successful. And we lean on each other. You know, anybody that were to call me and ask me, even if I don't have this, like if I can't personally sell them the solution, I just want people to succeed right now. So whatever that looks like, and if I can't help, then I'm going to recommend somebody who can. And I think that's what it's all about, is just hashing out ideas. They're not all going to be good ones, but sometimes a bad idea then becomes a good idea when you start sharing it with people. And and they start fine tuning it and it gets tweaked and pulled in different directions.
Yeah. Collaboration is truly, truly the key. Sharing ideas, doing brainstorming with our industry and our organization, just like this. I get on calls with our NACE, local NACE organization, and we're always going back and forth. We have Facebook groups where we talk about these things to share with each other. The San Antonio ILEA group is also very strong. So we're always brainstorming and collaborating. I think that one thing, I have not seen it myself, but I know that I've heard from my colleagues that individual dance floors. So because weddings, they're still happening, even if they have to move counties. We have seen some private clubs where they're setting up a wedding area, but instead of one big dance floor, they're doing little individual pods of dance floors, maybe, I don't know, 8x8, 4x4, something like that, where individual couples can dance separately from everybody else. So, you know, just sharing these ideas that we see and we hear about is helpful.
You know, and Jessica did ask in the Zoom if because these things do get expensive. I'm being very transparent with my client, and I'm not saying I'm forcing you to take these suggestions, but you know, I would say to them, this is the added cost. Is it worth it to you or not? I mean, if they want to move forward with their event, they've got to know that they have to take the precautions, and there could be an added expense tied to that.
Yes, we do have to build these containers into the menu price, but I also don't purchase the containers and just have them on spec. I send a proposal to the client, I get everything in line, and until I have a buy off from the client, we're not purchasing any of these additional items.
Correct. I like that. And then we have a few more minutes here. One more question. And this, Sonia, this might be more to you, but Allison, I want your feedback on it as well. As we move into fall and winter events, we've seen in the summer, people have felt more comfortable being outside. They've been flocking to the beach, to the mountain. They feel more comfortable outside. We've had events move outside, as I'm sure you probably have as well. Are you seeing people kind of move towards this trend as we move into the fall and winter months?
Yes.
And looking for outdoor venues?
Absolutely, we are. And we're also suggesting it. The Arcade Group and Rosemary's Catering, we have an internal company where we have tents and fans. So it's very easy to build that in. You know, hey, let's move this outside, or let's do indoor, outdoor. Because in that way, your guests can decide what comfort level they have, and we'll make the outdoor comfortable for them. But definitely a lot of outside events. Before we were in the 10-person restriction, outdoor events were allowed to happen for 100% of capacity. So indoor had been at 50 and then outdoor was at 100%. So we were pushing outdoor events even in the summer. But again, like I said, right now we're back to 10 people.
Allison, you have any thoughts on that as we're moving into the fall and winter?
Yeah, I would say this, like, you know, as I said, perception is reality. But if I had a client say to me, if I do this outside, my people are going to be so much safer, I would say that's arguable. But if that gives you a sense of safety and you want to move forward, hey, we're all for that. But one thing I know for sure is that if my people are on show site, they are going to be taking every precaution. They're going to be wearing all the PPE. You know, I know at the social events, people are comfortable with each other. Some of them are not following the rules. And we're going to lead by example for a lot of reasons. I know Sonia's staff is definitely following the rules, but man, you look at it, you look through the front door of any wedding venue, if you're walking by, there are not a lot of masks being worn. They're worn for kind of the kitschy photo op. And then the only other people wearing them are the staff. So I think we have an obligation to keep our staff safe, whether we're inside or outside. But I do think that there is definitely a perception that being outside is going to be safer.
I agree. Well,
Wow, you ladies are simply amazing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I really appreciate you guys. Heather, if you have a few words, if you would like to wrap up, we are at the end. But I mean, you guys have covered it all. Awesome.
We
hope
appreciate your
so.
time, Allison and Sonia. And I know if anybody else has any questions, you can send them to TRA. We can get them to Allison and Sonia and get you some
Absolutely.
get you some more great creative ideas and even some resources if you're not in Dallas or in San Antonio, but in other parts of this great state or the country. I know that between the three of us, they've got great resources, and we can get you some people to reach out to that can help you make your events a success still.
Absolutely, Heather. Anybody that wants to have a conversation, I'm always available. Absolutely.
Same here, ditto. We love talking to everybody, and this is, like I said at the beginning, it's how we learn and how we share.
Awesome. Well, we thank you guys for joining us today. We have some more amazing sessions and topics to be discussed all week. Come back and join us at TRA Marketplace 2020. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
afternoon, everyone.